Hi guys, I'm Kerwin.
And I'm Jenny.
We're from Cabot & Associates Physical Therapy. We're doing a multi-part series on seated weight shift, we call that, and you can implement at home. And this is video number 4. And we're going to talk about everything we've learned up to this point and reviewing it and get to a point where we call hip hinging. So you guys now have learned how to find the right seat height. You've now learned how to be able to find your pelvic floor. You've also learned how to implement engaging your legs and also be able to find where your shoulder blades should be positioned in according to everything in terms of your position so that you can breathe better. You can hold a seated position a lot longer without compromising your back. In this video, Jenny's going to teach us what we call hip hinging, so that when we say, for example, we're sitting on our computer desk, we're not compromising our neck, our shoulders, or back when we move. So take it away.
Okay, so I'm going to use Kerwin again as demonstration. So you can see he's already in the ideal staggered position that we were talking about in the previous videos. And he's going to use his feet, like we said before, make a footprint in the sand. So he's going to start by pushing his feet through the ground. And once you guys do that, you can probably feel that connection travel all the way up through his feet, through his trunk, through his head, shoulder area. So I'm going to have him push through, make his footprint in the sand. And then what he's going to do is he's going to have his movement come from his hips. I know a lot of times this is what I'll see, okay, that movement. The movement's coming from the back, but we want it more from the hips. So for Kerwin, I like to kind of say, pretend like you drop something underneath a bed or a table and you're trying to see what happened to it, like it rolled underneath. So what do you do when you drop an object? You start to bend forward and you start to look for it that way as opposed to this. Okay, so I'm going to have Kerwin do that. He's going to start to drop his chest going towards the ground there. And he's still keeping all of the things that we went over previously. He's still keeping his chin nice and long, nice and tucked a little bit there. Good. He's keeping his shoulder blades back in that back pocket like he talked about. And he's pressing through the ground to come all the way up. Good. Same thing, now when he comes back up, he's still pressing through the ground. Those legs are still engaged throughout this entire time.
Yep. One thing I do want to notice that even though my hands are on my lap, I'm actually not using those to push me upright. Now if you want to practice, you can make a clasp fists or hands, put it here right on your sternum, and do the same thing where you're sitting on your pelvic floor and you're engaging your legs. And Jenny has just taught us how to hip hinge when we come forward, using my legs to slow me down. And when it's time for me to get myself upright, I'm pushing through the ground to allow me to come back on my pelvic floor where I'm not too far back here. Okay, doke. So now, how do we implement this as a home exercise program? Well, let's say, for example, we're on our computer desk here, and the mouse is out of reach. We can take that simple hip hinge movement. So instead of reaching with our shoulder, we take that simple hip hinge movement, got our shoulder blades in our back pocket, we're sitting on our pelvic floor, our legs are engaged. Essentially, the ground is what's going to get us up and reach for that mouse instead of lazily reaching for the mouse this way. Can you see how that can irritate my shoulder? Even though it might seem like a simple movement. And it's the same thing for, say, you're watching TV and reaching for the remote. Or you're in the fridge grabbing a glass of water. The idea here is to be able to connect everything from the ground up, our legs, to our pelvis, our core, our shoulders, and the rest of our body, so that when we're in that seated position, nothing gets compromised. So I hope you guys got a lot of value out of these videos. And go ahead and just review and watch whichever one you feel like you need to work on. And we will see you guys soon in the clinic.